Alright, y'all, so I figured I just wanted to open up a little bit more about myself, um, since I haven't really done that on this channel yet. So first off, my name is Devi. I'm 19 years old, and I currently go to college, though due to some issues I'm going to get into later on, I've had to learn to cope with some hard things and realize that I'm not going to be able to continue the college dreams I wanted. I wanted to be a vet tech or veterinarian, but sadly, due to the heavy course load and content and just how my brain doesn't function, I won't be able to do that. So I'm thinking I'm going to go to beauty school, maybe over the summer or starting next fall, and learn to do nails. Like these that I made for Julia Alexa. Her song's coming out soon, by the way, and it's really cool. But I'm gonna be honest, I have many mixed feelings about giving up on my dream because I didn't really want to, but I can't do the content, and it really hurts, but it'll be alright. What I'm going to be talking about with this introduction is kind of like the layers of what I have. So I'm going off script, so if I miss anything, that's on me. But so in the list that I can remember right now, because I do not have a script, is I have generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, panic disorder, PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder. I have DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. I'm suspected autism spectrum disorder. I have to get retested because I mean, that was many years ago, and as a younger teen, I did not answer truthfully, as in I did not say yes to a lot of the questions I should have out of anxiety because I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to be normal. So the first things that I said are what for sure came up because they did not, they got through the stuff that I did not view as abnormal. So what else? We also have suspected OCD. I do have many OCD tendencies. I have to get tested again. Then for medical, I have MCAS, or mast cell activation syndrome, and functional neurological disorder, and I am possibly on the POTS spectrum. I have to get a cardiologist and test for that, but yeah. So first off, after mentioning those, I'm just gonna kind of explain like how they affect my daily life. So, as someone with PTSD, a lot of my life is governed by what will and what won't hurt me. So, decisions I make, people I talk to, how I look around the room, everything kind of comes into play on what ultimately in my brain will lead to more trauma. I've had childhood trauma from when I was 4 and under that I personally don't remember, but I would have nightmares about things that I should not have known at the time. And then later on, from 13 to 16, I had a lot more trauma that I should not have had. I'm coming to terms with the fact that I was also abused by someone I did not realize was abusing me. Not a parent, not an adult, but from, when I was 8 to about 15, 16. So it was a long time. So I've had long-term trauma that has caused the PTSD, and that ties into why I have panic disorder and generalized anxiety and social anxiety, because generalized anxiety, I'm constantly, I'm not scared of things necessarily, but I'm always in a fight or flight mode. So something can tip me off that something's wrong, and my body will then react like it's a life or death sentence, when it may not be. It could just be a balloon popping, or someone suddenly behind me, because I am on a college campus, so when I walk around there's always people behind me. And sometimes when I'm not paying attention because I have a hood up or I can't hear them because my headphones are on, it does give me a scare, but I don't show it externally, which is another part of my trauma. Is I learned how to internalize every single emotion that I have so that nobody realizes that I'm having troubles. And I just have had a few times in my life where people have been mad at me or upset with me because I showed fear and anxiety, and I would break down. And I've just learned to have a poker face or smile no matter where I go, so that I don't have to have that conversation of, oh, why are you sad, or why are your eyes swollen? So I rarely cry because I don't live in my own home. If I had my own house, I would probably cry more, but so those are my anxiety disorders. I also have borderline personality disorder, and there's a lot of stigmatism around borderline personality disorder, but it is a trauma-based disorder. And it leads to things like, in untreated cases, manipulation, because if you can control a situation, then that person's not going to hurt you, or you're going to get something that you believe you really need. There's also things with BPD like oversharing, because if you believe that somebody's not going to tell somebody something else, because you would not, then you tend to overshare. That has caused a lot of issues in the past. It also leads to bullying for people with BPD, and it can be really harmful. Now, I'm going to tell you that not everybody with these disorders have the symptoms that I do. They can be different. They could be more. They could be less. These are just what I experience. I used to manipulate and did not even know I was when I was 18. I'm much more aware of what I do now and how to stop myself from doing those things. So it doesn't really happen. I've caught myself almost doing it, like if I believe it's something that somebody's going to get upset about, I will have the initial thought to lie, do half-truth, or just completely make up a different story, which are forms of manipulation. And I've had to learn that, okay, well, maybe I don't want somebody to yell at me, or I expect that they're going to yell at me because it's happened a lot. But if I don't tell them, I'm going to get yelled at a lot more. So I've decided to lessen that by telling the truth and not manipulating anymore. I save manipulation as in, like, if I'm kidnapped or something like that, like completely worst case scenario type of things, like, yeah, kidnapped, somebody's got a gun to my head, or something like that. Like, if I had to use manipulation in those kind of kinds of situations, then yes, I would implement it, and I would do it spectacularly because I know how to do it. I don't want to do it. That is the biggest thing. I feel personally that manipulating somebody else is one of the worst things I could ever do, so I can't do it. Or I beat myself up for literal months afterwards and apologize for many, many hours. BPD also comes with a couple other things that, if you know somebody with BPD or you've heard stigmas about it, these can make people feel very uncomfortable, but they're not things that people with BPD usually know that they're doing. So people with BPD tend to develop a favorite person. Now, this favorite person doesn't have to be a good person. It doesn't even have to be somebody in their life. It can just be somebody that they're obsessed with, okay? Now, that may sound very bad and kind of yandere vibes, but let me explain. So, my favorite person is my boyfriend. He means the entire world to me. There's not a thing I wouldn't do for him. And that is why I have been in a lot of abusive relationships, because that favorite person tends to be the person that gives me the attention that I need and loves on me and cares for me. To me, like, that's what I see. But in reality, they could be doing the opposite, and I just don't realize it because I'm completely in awe of them. It's a sort of blind love, but me and my boyfriend have been together for 10, 11 months now, and we're going good. He is my best friend, and he even told me, like, if we ever had to break up for any reason, like, we'd still be friends. And while that would be hard, I would never want to lose him, because losing people hurts a lot more. And going off of that, BPD also includes very, very, very heightened emotions. So I may not on the regular show these emotions because I have learned to mask every single day, no matter what it is. I can have a full-blown panic attack, not anxiety, panic. I could be completely in terror, and no one on the planet would know. Because if I show weakness, then somebody's going to use that weakness. Not everybody with BPD is like that, and the hardest one to control is anger. I will be honest. There are times where I get angry and I have to walk away. I have to be by myself and let myself boil it out. Literally boil until the anger evaporates. And it can be stupid little shit that wouldn't affect other people. And that makes it really difficult because that anger could take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most to evaporate. But the good news is that people with BPD, good or bad, have very, very heightened emotions, and mood swings are on the daily. So let's say somebody with bipolar, right? They can have these big manic highs, depressive lows over a course of a week, 2 weeks, a couple months. With BPD, it's a roller coaster, but it's a roller coaster that takes 5 seconds. So you go up, down, swirl, and then zigzag. Yeah, all of the different movements. I've had over 200 mood swings in an hour, and nobody's ever known. I can have something that pisses me off to the point where I want to whack somebody, and then I can see a butterfly that's really cool and completely forget all about it, and then remember it later when I'm trying to sleep. So it's considered a disabling disorder, but for me, it's just normal. I have it every day, it never goes away, and I don't know, I guess I just adapted to it because it's always been there. I'll talk a little bit more about how my BPD can be a little different from other people because of another thing that I have. It's a medical thing, but I'll talk about that later. We're focusing on psych. Our next thing is DID. Now, dissociative identity disorder and OSDD, which is other specified dissociative disorder, if I'm remembering correctly. They're both things where you have multiple personalities or alters. I like to call them personalities because person is in it, but some people like to say alters because it's alternative state of being. I don't know if it's being, but you get the picture. I have had DID for my whole life. Like, nobody just has it pop out of nowhere in their 20s. And that is because of whatever trauma I had before I was 4, and then I was taken out of that home and put into a different home. While that in itself wouldn't cause the being put out, wouldn't necessarily cause DID, it does cause a traumatic response in other ways. Like, I don't have attachment issues in the way that I can't attach to people, but I have attachment issues in the fact that I over-attach to people. That's out of my own fear that people are going to leave me, fear of abandonment, which is a poster topic for people with BPD. You're always afraid of abandonment, and that can be which can lead to other fears of like being afraid you're never going to be good enough, so people leave you. And what's another one that there could be? A fear that like you're always going to be in the wrong, like you're always going to mess up. that can lead others to leave you. And that's where things can seem obsessive, but it's really just because, like, you've either had enough people leave you or you've been close to that, and it is honestly traumatizing. Now I'm trying to remember where I was. Yes, DID. Okay, so different people have different representations of DID. So my version, my little culmination of symptoms is a little bit different. So I'm more covert, where it happens like what's the word? It's more undercover. Whereas overt, or what you may see in movies, although movies make a terrible representation of it, what you might see is more like switches happen all the time, and it's very dramatic, or things like that. But for me personally, there are a few differences, and I will get into that. So my differences, the way mine works is, I've been very in tune with my body and my mind for ever since I've known. And I include myself in this. I am one of 7 in this brain here. And I know there's stigma, and there are people who may not want to ever see my videos again because of this. That's how bad, like, some people view it, which is completely awful. Like, it's also a trauma-based disorder. But this is the first time I'm really, like, putting it out there, because, like, my boyfriend knows, and my best friend knows, but other than that, not a lot of people know about this, so it's almost like exposure therapy. But I am one of 7, so I'm Debbie. I've been in this body for as long as I've known, and I have 6 others that do share this body. I have had splits later on. It didn't develop later on. I had splits later on, which I will cover. But, so our first one was Aphrodite. Now, her name used to be Rosie. I first named them, then they got to name themselves, because I realized, wait a minute, like, they're their own people, they should be able to name themselves. So, Aphrodite is a very sexual, very sensual person. My bad. Okay. Where was I? Right, so she has always been that way. I have suspected for a long time that the abuse I had when I was 4 and under was tied to why she has that personality, why I had nightmares similar to that. And so I've had her since, I don't know, I've known she was there since I was like 5 or 6. And shortly after her was Clara. She used to be Lily. And Clara, this is a little confusing, she was 9, Now she's 16. So how this works is, while we have chronological ages, well, human beings who have normal brains, okay? While people with normal brains have chronological ages where they mature and they learn and they experience new things, it's very isolated inside of the brain. And so, like, Clara, for example, she wasn't out a lot. They're not out a lot. My form of DID is covert, as I said, so I don't have switches very often. Usually they're if they want to do something and I let them, although Aphrodite tends to overpower me, or there is a huge, it has to be ginormous, trauma thing that just makes them go, nope, you're out of there, and somebody replaces me. But Clara is 16 now. She was 9, and her switch happened more abruptly. It only happened maybe 6-7 months ago, and she is the sweetest little thing. She had a big maturity jump, so sometimes she still acts like her 9-year-old self and has fits, but usually she has more put together thoughts. She can talk more like a teenager would of 16, 17 years old. So her maturity level jumped, I think, because she was able to talk to people more and she had more experiences and she learned how to talk that way. But not everybody's continue to grow like that. So Clara is more bubbly, she's more energetic, she tends to co-front a lot. So co-fronting is basically where somebody's in charge, but there's also somebody kind of in the back. They might be like switching out little bits, so like they could switch in to type something while I'm having a conversation. So that's what co-fronting is. You're kind of splitting up the tasks. Full fronting would be they take over the body completely, and a lot of times when that happens, I have no idea what happened. I trust them, usually. I say that because Aphrodite and I didn't used to be on good terms, but I usually trust them to take care of the body, and if they need me, I'm there, they can call on me. If I'm stuck in the back and I can't come back out, or they're stuck in the front, we have Ray or me to help. Sometimes Aphrodite helps, but she doesn't like the thought of responsibility, so but anyway, then we had Ray come along. She used to be Moonlight, and she's maternal. Her mental age is about 30s, 40s. She's not out a lot because I tend to take care of the things. She goes dormant on and off, so I can't contact her even if I want to, but that's another thing. I am able to communicate with my alters, which, from what I've read, what I've watched, like that's not a typical thing. That tends to be something that happens through therapy, but I've just always been able to do that. I don't know why. It might be because I'm always in tune with my body, but I know when they need something, I can block them out if I need to, usually, but I mean, it's just something. My brain stopped working. But, yeah, that. So anyway, yes, talking between, right, sorry, this happens a lot. So yeah, it's honestly cool for me because, yes, we can have our arguments. Me and Aphrodite have had many arguments because she used to be jealous that I had the body and I got to do what I wanted and I got to have friends and I got to have a family. But we've worked things out, which is also nice. What's interesting, just a little bit more before I move on with like Ray and whatnot. The alters can sleep while the body is awake and like somebody else is controlling it. So I can like mentally shut off my brain to sleep while like Aphrodite or Clara are doing other things. So while the body may not be resting, I can rest, recharge, like step away, because I've been able to do that when things get too rough and somebody needs to take over. It's kind of hard to explain. So like I can see the mind space and I can use it. Each of us have our own rooms. They're all decorated. We've all seen each other's rooms, except the leptos, but we'll get to that. Anyway, back to my disorganized chatting about the alters themselves. So Ray is our older one. She's more of a caretaker. She's maternal. I also take on that role, but sometimes I need her to kind of speak up. I'm highly influenced by whoever's co-fronting, so there are times where I am very maternal, which tends to be with children, and I can be maternal by myself, but it's greatly emphasized when she's co-fronting. So she's rarely out at all, but she is there, and she's very sweet and very smart. And yeah, so then we have Shunya, and Shunya didn't used to have a name, actually. She was there, but she never really like talked or communicated, so like I didn't give her a name because I didn't feel I had to, but she picked her name. I believe it means blank because she has no emotions. She's Aero Ace. I can get into their other things later. I'm just very disorganized and it's late at night for me. Shunya has no emotion except for curiosity. She's Aero Ace, so she has no attraction to anyone whatsoever. She has like vague thoughts on like what is pretty, what is not, but otherwise like she doesn't really feel anything. So she tends to co-front or come out when I've gone through something super duper emotional and I'm just completely drained. So yeah, there's not a lot to talk about with her, but I can get into a mini series about all of them, like their traits and whatnot in shorts, but this is just a short overview. Then we have Electo. She came in and kind of attacked Clara. I'm guessing she was just testing the limits. She's a split, I believe, off of Aphrodite. And that's because I went through something very stressful. And usually I have a very high trauma tolerance where I don't usually split, but it does happen sometimes when I'm under super high stress or a lot of trauma, or both. So I don't really know a lot about her. She doesn't like to talk a lot. She's no longer attacking people, but she doesn't seem to be in a chatty mood, so I'll have to see where that ends up going, but she's been with us for a few months now. Then there's Joshua, and Joshua is my only male alter. He is the kind of sporty jock guy that is super nice and protective and would help anybody. Like, he's a complete gentleman. He has no desire to front. He just kind of chills and plays with Clara occasionally. But he's a pretty sweet guy. He would front if I needed him to, or he would take care of Clara. He was dormant for 3 or 4 years and suddenly popped up the other day, so I was like, yeah, he surprised me. He literally said, "Oh, hey, it's been a while," and I went, "What? You're back?" Like, completely surprised, because I didn't realize for a very long time that they could go dormant. I thought they literally died, so, like, I grieved over him because he was gone. But yeah, that's a little overview of the alters. I do have switches. I do have amnesia, but most of the time it's co-fronting, so I don't really usually have to worry about it. And even when there is a switch, they tend to try and act like me. Aside from Aphrodite, she doesn't do a very good job because she has an accent, and she has to try and get rid of the accent when she talks. And she also talks very seductively, so it's a little rough, but she does her best, and that's what I'm grateful for. She no longer goes behind my back to do things, as of a few months ago, so. I know I'm probably missing things, but it's just a small thing. Then we have the ASD and OCD. I'm not going to get into because I'm not officially diagnosed with those. And I've pretty much covered what mostly affects my life psychologically. Then we have MCAS, so that's mast cell activation syndrome. So my body reacts to everything like it's an allergic reaction. I may not hit anaphylaxis, but I end up having neurological issues. I do have tics. I don't know if those are the functional neurological disorder or mast cell activation syndrome. It could be a combination of both, but we suspect that it's because of the Pfizer vaccine, which is an mRNA. So my body will go through my DNA, see the foreign mRNA, freak out multiple times a second, every single day, and attack my entire body with multiple chemicals. So that leads to flushing and hives and seizures, loss of use of my legs, constant brain fog. I mean, it's terrible. I can only really use my brain for about an hour, every single day. Otherwise, I'm mostly out of commission. That's why I can't really do school. I can do arts and crafts type things because they don't really use that much brain power, but studying and whatnot, it goes through one ear and out the other and does not stick unless it's within like that hour or less, depending on how much sleep I've gotten, time frame. So I am on multiple medications. I'm also on a shot called Xolair. I'm waiting to see the results of that, but yeah, so that's just our little rundown. I also have histamine intolerance, so with MCAS, your histamine goes up with, I'm sorry for the inconsistent talking speed too. Like, I really sped up about this, but, yeah, so, brain stopped. Yep. So yeah, histamine goes up in my body. Brain fog, because my brain actually gets inflamed. Will say last time I checked, MCAS is not a registered disability. So if I were to get disability for it, I would have to fight for it. It can also interfere with your autonomic system. I believe I'm saying that right. But which can cause POTS and other such things. So I do pass out, which it's not actually passing out, it's a type of seizure, but I do have to be on electrolytes so that I don't like pass out because I go up 4 steps. So yeah, then we have the FND. So FND is kind of an umbrella for neurological symptoms that don't have a specific cause. We're guessing I have FND with the MCAS because there are certain things with MCAS that aren't, there's certain things that I have that aren't covered by MCAS but would be covered by both. I don't have epilepsy, but I have seizures. And I don't have Tourette's, but I have tics. And that is either because my neurological system is completely out of whack because of the histamine, because of trauma. Trauma can cause your entire nervous system to go down. I would know, like, I can't even talk about my trauma without, like, having physical issues because my nervous system sees a threat just by talking about it. And it will go on for months. But it does affect everyday life, and that's basically the rundown of the things I have, kind of why I'm disabled. But the reason why I made this channel is to just show my life, show what I can do, because there's a lot of things I can't do. I may not even be able to get a part-time job, which, I mean, really upsets me as somebody who wants to be an independent woman and do my own things, who's impatient on waiting on other people, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So I do have a press-on business that I've started, and I love it. Like, I have these that I made for Julia Alexa, as I said earlier. She is so pretty, and she has, like, an amazing voice. I swear, like, amazing. She's gone through some shit, too, obviously, from her songs, but, like, she touches my heart so much. Then I made these. I haven't put them on my Etsy yet, but they're gonna be called, like, fairy themed or something. My bestie is obsessed with Melanie Martinez, so that's why they look, you know, fairy-esque with a little bit of fluff. So yeah, I'm I currently have the inventory to make many, many nails. If you have any inspiration for nails I should make, I would definitely need the practice because I want to go to beauty school. I don't really need smarts for that. I don't need a lot of brain power, and I have all the creative capabilities in the world. So, yeah, but please like, subscribe. I'm glad you listened, and thank you for watching.